Hey there! Welcome back to Color and Craft Haven, a little corner of calm where we can slow down, breathe, and add a little color to the day. Today we're diving into something that feels a little bit like magic until you peek behind the curtain. We're talking about paper engineering, the incredible mechanics behind pop-up books. At first glance, they seem kind of impossible. You open a page and suddenly an entire castle leaps into existence. Dragons stretch their wings or flowers bloom right in front of you. It feels like someone trapped tiny architects inside the pages. Thankfully, no tiny architects were harmed in the making of these books. They simply rely on clever geometry, careful planning, and a shocking amount of paper that somehow refuses to start an argument with itself. Most people think of pop-up books as something for children, but the engineering behind them is honestly fascinating for adults. If you've ever unfolded a cardboard box and wondered how one flat sheet suddenly became a three-dimensional object, you've already been introduced to the same basic principles. Pop-up books simply take those ideas and make them dramatically more theatrical. Instead of holding cereal, they're holding enchanted forests, or pirate ships, or dinosaurs, and occasionally a castle that's determined to poke you directly in the nose. They transform simple folds into moving sculptures, and they do it while pretending it's no big deal. Meanwhile, I fold one piece of paper slightly crooked, and suddenly it resembles abstract modern art. The word engineering might sound intimidating, but in this case it simply means designing something so it moves exactly the way you want it to. Every fold has a purpose. Every cut has a job. Every glued section acts almost like a hinge or support beam. If one tiny measurement is off, the entire mechanism can refuse to close properly. It's a bit like trying to organize a family dinner where everyone insists on arriving through the same doorway at exactly the same time. Somebody is getting stuck. Paper engineering is really the art of convincing every moving part to cooperate peacefully without starting a tiny cardboard traffic jam. The most important concept behind nearly every pop-up mechanism is that paper bends much more willingly than it stretches. Designers use folds to control where that bending happens. Instead of allowing the paper to wrinkle randomly, they create precise lines that tell the page exactly where it should move. It's almost like giving paper a tiny instruction manual. Please bend here. Definitely don't bend there. Absolutely do not panic halfway through the process. Amazingly, the paper usually listens. Mine occasionally chooses rebellion, but professionally engineered paper tends to be far better behaved than the sheets currently occupying my craft table. One of the simplest mechanisms is called the V-fold. Imagine cutting a small shape, folding it in half, and attaching the folded edges to opposite pages. When the book opens, that folded shape rises upward because the angle between the pages changes. That's really the secret. The pages themselves are doing the work. Nothing pops because springs are hiding inside. The motion comes entirely from geometry. Once you understand that, it feels almost disappointingly logical. Then you try and build one yourself and immediately discover geometry has been quietly judging you the entire time. Another common design uses parallel folds, often called box folds or platform folds. These create little steps that push objects outward when the page opens. That's how characters can stand upright or buildings can appear to rise off the page. The fold acts almost like a tiny elevator, except this elevator never breaks down, never gets stuck between floors, and never plays the same 3 notes of music while you awkwardly avoid eye contact with strangers. Instead, it simply lifts the artwork into 3-dimensional space with remarkable reliability, assuming everything was measured correctly in the first place. Layering is another brilliant trick that gives pop-up books incredible depth. Instead of placing everything on one moving platform, designers stagger multiple elements at different distances from the viewer. Your brain instantly interprets these layers as perspective, making scenes feel far larger than they actually are. A tiny paper forest suddenly feels enormous because the trees overlap naturally. It's exactly the same reason stage sets in theaters can make a relatively small space appear much deeper. Our brains are surprisingly easy to convince. We see 3 layers of paper and immediately declare, yes, this is an infinite magical kingdom. Timing is another hidden challenge that people rarely think about. Every moving part has to open and close in exactly the right sequence. If one piece rises too early, it might collide with another piece. If another folds too slowly, it can snag on nearby artwork. Paper engineers spend an incredible amount of time testing these movements over and over and over again. Open, close, open, close, again, again, again. Somewhere around test number 400, I imagine they begin having conversations with the paper. Kevin, we've discussed this. You fold left. You know this. We've rehearsed. Strong paper selection is just as important as clever design. Paper that's too thin can tear after repeated use, while paper that's too thick becomes difficult to fold neatly. Designers need material that balances flexibility with durability. It also needs to hold crisp folds without cracking. That's why professional pop-up books often use heavier paper than an ordinary novel. Those pages aren't simply showing pictures, they're functioning as mechanical parts. Every page is simultaneously an illustration, a moving structure, and a surprisingly patient performer repeating the same routine every time someone opens the book. Illustration and engineering also have to work together from the very beginning. The artist can't simply draw a beautiful dragon and hope someone figures out how to make it flap dramatically later. The movement influences the artwork just as much as the artwork influences the movement. A wing might need to be positioned differently because it folds underneath another piece. A castle tower might require hidden support tabs. Every artistic decision has mechanical consequences. It's a little like designing costumes in theater. The outfit needs to look wonderful, but the actor still has to be able to sit down without causing an unexpected wardrobe catastrophe. Modern technology has certainly helped designers experiment with new ideas, but surprisingly, much of the creative process still involves physical prototypes. Designers print, cut, fold, glue, test, adjust, and repeat. Computer software can predict some movement, but nothing quite replaces holding the mechanism in your hands and seeing what actually happens. Sometimes an idea that looked brilliant on screen becomes hopelessly tangled in real life. Paper has opinions, very strong opinions. Occasionally it seems determined to remind us that it has existed for centuries and isn't particularly impressed by our fancy software. If you've ever wanted to experiment with paper engineering yourself, the best approach is to start small. A single V-fold or a simple box fold teaches more than trying to construct an elaborate castle with rotating towers on your very first attempt. Every successful mechanism builds your understanding of how folds interact and how movement develops. Before long, you'll start looking at greeting cards, packaging, and other paper products differently. Suddenly, everything becomes suspicious. Interesting, how exactly are you standing up like that? Congratulations, you've officially become the person investigating birthday cards like they're engineering blueprints. One reason pop-up books remain so captivating is that they create a physical experience that digital media can't completely replace. Screens can animate almost anything, but there is something uniquely satisfying about opening an actual page and watching a structure rise because of nothing more than carefully folded paper. You feel connected to the mechanism because your own hands activate it. Every opening becomes a tiny performance. It's quite tactile and wonderfully surprising. Even when you understand exactly how it works, your brain still enjoys that brief little moment of delight before logic catches up and says, "Fine, yes, geometry wins again." Perhaps the greatest lesson paper engineering teaches us is that creativity often grows through limitations instead of despite them. Designers aren't working with motors, batteries, or electronics. They're working with flat sheets of paper, careful folds, gravity, and a remarkable amount of patience. Those limitations encourage clever solutions that might never exist otherwise. It's a wonderful reminder that we don't always need more complicated tools to make something extraordinary. Sometimes all we need is curiosity, persistence, and the willingness to fold one more practice page after the previous 17 ended up looking like they survived a very emotional encounter with a very hungry accordion. Paper engineering reminds us that creativity isn't just about decoration. It's also about problem solving, experimentation, and discovering unexpected possibilities hiding inside ordinary materials. Every pop-up book is really a conversation between mathematics, design, illustration, and imagination, all disguised as a delightful surprise waiting inside a page. The next time you open one, take an extra moment to appreciate everything happening beneath the surface. Those tiny folds are performing an intricate mechanical dance that most readers never notice. And honestly, they deserve a standing ovation. That's it for today's colorful time. Have you ever owned a pop-up book that completely amazed you? Or have you ever tried making one yourself? Leave a comment and let me know. Take care, stay creative, and I'll see you in the next one.